welcome to the studio. How you doing? Congratulations.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're fantastic.
Congrats.
Thanks so much for taking the quick moment to chat with
you.
us. Can you introduce yourself, the company, and what's the news today?
Absolutely. So my name is Jay Malik. I'm the CEO of the Advanced Manufacturing Company of America. We call it affectionately AMCA. Um, and uh, and so what we do is we design, manufacture, and certify the next generation of critical products that go into all aerospace and defense systems. So that's both existing and new systems. The stuff that Boeing makes and the stuff that Anduril is going to make.
Okay. Can you break down a little bit more of like what the first products that you'll make will look like? We've heard about what Hadrian's doing. We've heard about, injection molding plastics. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
different buzzwords. Obviously, everyone kind of wants to do everything in the long term, but what are you focused on first?
Yeah. So first, let me just start high level, right? Like
Please.
when we talk about the aerospace and defense primes like Lockheed or Boeing, they don't make anything today, right? They've outsourced a lot of their manufacturing and engineering to thousands of suppliers. Some suppliers are focused on high volume manufacturing, things like wire harnesses, machine parts, which is Hadrian's doing injection molding.
Yep.
There's a lot of great suppliers that are focused on that, but there are also hundreds of suppliers that are focused on critical engineered products. Those are the products that basically determine system success or failure and are often, very, very highly specialized. So stuff like avionics products, power units, specific engine products. And so we're focused in those areas, in the most critical areas where you need to both engineer and manufacture at relatively low volumes for the end customer, for their system to succeed. So we're focused on a pretty different, I would say, part of the market compared to most of the sort of software-defined manufacturing startups that you often see today. In terms of where we're starting, almost entirely on avionics. The part of the plane or the ground control system that involves, controlling it, right? So the stuff you see in a cockpit, for example. And so we're focused on things like switches, panels, displays, power units, things that are critical to the pilot if it's a manned system. And if it's an unmanned system, critical to communication and executing on the mission. So those are the areas that we're mostly focused on right now.
Can you talk about the timing of the announcement? Was it just a happy accident? You were always planning to go out this week, or did you pull it forward due to the everything in the news?
A little minor news this week.
We were supposed to launch this week anyway, but we actually had a few reporters that I think got scared of the tariffs, didn't want to cover anything. And so we basically said, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to curse in this podcast, but F that, and said that this is actually the best effing time to take our company public. So we just did it. And so, yeah, it was planned, but obviously timing is definitely in our favor.
Can you talk about, this is obviously a big raise to come out the gates with. Can you talk about, kind of the use of proceeds and kind of like, I'm curious about kind of like how you're thinking of the structure of the business generally.
Yep. So we're going to be, we've already acquired one business that is a critical avionics supplier, which you saw a video, or some people may have seen a video about. We're going to be acquiring probably another 2 to 3 of them over the next, 12 to 18 months. We're also going to be doing our own clean sheet, design and development of adjacent products in this space with our own manufacturing and engineering talent. So it's a hybrid approach. I'm a firm believer that especially in this, area of the supply chain, you can't just hack your way into it. You also can't just be a private equity firm and buy and price it up. That's not going to achieve what companies like Anduril want to achieve, for their customers. And so we're taking a hybrid approach where we're buying, companies with products that we think are going to be hard, to just redesign from scratch. And also developing ones that we think we can do a great job of ourselves.
And is part of your advantage over traditional private equity is just the time horizon you're thinking about of saying like, we don't need to come in and just like immediately cut costs by 50% and increase, pricing and then hopefully flip the business in 3 years. Like I imagine you're buying to hold, and that's part of why somebody would want to sell to you in the first place, I imagine.
Yeah, it actually goes deeper than that. So I would say the one thing that I have learned building this business so far, I believe, it's still early, is that owners don't really necessarily care just about the time horizon and your ability, obviously, to underwrite, the deal. They also care about one, not selling to MBAs, not selling, to traditional finance people. You'd be surprised. It's
Yeah.
big. It's a big thing for them. And that second, that what you're doing, meaning like, you're not a bunch of like search funders. You're not, a bunch of people, this is separate from the MBA argument, but like, you're not a bunch of people that haven't spent time in manufacturing, shop floor, et cetera. And so our entire team are engineering and manufacturing folks. Right? We spend our entire careers, designing things for SpaceX, manufacturing things. We're also young, which I think people like to see when they're selling their business. They know that just looking at the person across the table, that they're going to be there for the next 20 or 30 years. So I'd say all of those things combined make it a pretty strong pitch for wanting to sell to us.
Did you have this idea in mind or a rough idea of it when you decided to go back, enter your next chapter? I remember it felt like a year ago when you decided to move on from active investing. It felt like, I just remember that like instantly you shared it and it just was like everywhere.
Yeah.
And because people at that time, it was like every non-deep tech, hard tech investor was like starting to pile into the category. And then everybody's like, wait,
if he can't do it, I'm screwed.
What are we doing? It didn't slow anything down, obviously, but I'm curious, like, kind of the origin.
Out, what am I doing getting in this week?
Yeah, I'm curious, like how the idea and the opportunity came together.
Yeah, so I spent 3 or 4 years, obviously, in my career at Countdown. When I was 24 years old, I started the firm. I spent a lot of time, with manufacturing startups and also with mom and pop suppliers. Like as part of my diligence for whether I should invest in companies, I would, talk to mom and pops. And so I'd spend, 3 or 4 years in the space. And it didn't really click, I think, until after I shut down Countdown, that one, the mom and pops, have both the expertise and in some cases the qualifications that you need in order to develop and manufacture and bring the product to market. And then it also didn't occur to me, obviously, when I was venture investing, that maybe there is a path where you can combine the mom and pop advantages with the spirit, the culture, the talent of a startup, right? Like when you're venture investing, 3 or 4 years, every single day, your mind is just like, startup, new things. That's, you're not even able to think about what does the future look like using something that already exists, right? And so it wasn't until I had actually shut down Countdown, had like a month and a half to reflect, think about what I had learned, wrote down some key themes. And then start to iterate from there. Talk to people, talk to customers in the industry, talk to people at companies that are already building very successful ones, both in startup world and in mom and pop world. And that's when the vision started to come together. Like, hey, I'm uniquely in the center of these two movements, right? Like I helped, I think, start and invest in a lot of the startups in this space, and at the same time, I know a lot of people who are in the traditional world, and I should use that to the maximum advantage that I can.
I have one last question, and then I'll let you go because I know you're busy today. Charlie Munger criticized TransDigm for buying aerospace parts manufacturers and then locking primes and aerospace companies into long contracts, raising prices. It was a little bit of a controversial strategy, but it's performed very well for that company. What is your takeaway from the TransDigm model?
TransDigm is actually a phenomenal business, and it's actually not the cause of any of those issues. The cause of those issues, certification, lock-in, et cetera, has to do with decisions that were made 30 years ago at the top of Boeing, which is a paper right here, basically pillaring that decision. But the decision at the top of Boeing to outsource every single thing that they do, from engineering and manufacturing at the component and part level up to the product level. And so TransDigm is just a recipient of the system that was instituted 30 years ago. If you really want to change things, we believe that you have to start from the bottoms up with the critical products, build your way back up in partnership with the customer to reverse that type of decision making and culture. So Yeah, my answer to that is I think TransDigm is actually a great business. They have run businesses very, very well. They're in an environment that was not created by them. They have taken advantage of it, but it was not created by them. And to fix that, it's going to take partnership with a company like ours.
Well, that's a fantastic answer. Thanks so much for hopping on short notice. Congratulations on the round, and we'll have to have you back.
Yeah, I have so many other questions I want to
ask. We can talk for
an
hour, I'm sure.
Yeah, very excited for you and the team, and excited to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you. Let's do it. Take care, guys.
This is great. Talk to you
Later.
soon. Bye.